Every WrestleMania will be ranked in this video. I'm going to do it by a tier listing. If you're new to a tier listing, you can see the categories below me. Of course, we've got all the artwork posters for WrestleManias, and I'm going to add each WrestleMania as we go to the category that I think they belong in. It's all down to my personal opinion as well, so do take that with a pinch of salt, but do let me know your opinion at the end of the video. Of course, just to see the categories we've got greatest, so yeah, the top manias will be there. Very good ones will probably be like 8 or 9 out of 10. Decent, of course, those will probably be like your 7 out of 10s. Average, we're talking about your 5. We will get some bad WrestleManias, sadly, and yes, there are a couple that will be in the worst category. So without further ado, let's look at the lineup and see what we have. We're going to start off then as we go along with the artwork here. We've got WrestleMania 8, which is the first WrestleMania I ever watched. So let's be honest, a bit of nostalgia kicks in on this one, and there is some great matches on here. Randy Savage versus Ric Flair for the WWF Championship is a classic. I really enjoyed as well Roddy Piper versus Bret Hart for the Intercontinental Championship. And as a fan, you know, Undertaker versus Jake Roberts, and the first ever match that I ever watched was Tito Santana versus Shawn Michaels. You can't say it's pretty bad. What you can say is pretty bad, though, is that main event between Sid Justice and Hogan. Papa Shango getting down to the ring at the worst time possible. In fact, so late that the match had to be changed really with the finish. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't end on the best note, but for me, nostalgia does kick in. I'm putting this on decent, and I'm willing to stay on that hill on my own. And next is WrestleMania 28, which has got my favorite match of all time, the end of an era, Hell in a Cell match, Undertaker Triple H with Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee. Once in a lifetime, well, they sold us that other time, John Cena and The Rock. We had CM Punk versus Chris Jericho, and we also had Sheamus and Daniel Bryan, which probably to some people might be a negative part of that show. But all in all, I think this one is a very good WrestleMania, so I'm going to put that in the second tier. WrestleMania 3 is the next one there. Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan, of course, was the selling point there of 93,000, but the show was stolen with Ricky Steamboat versus Macho Man Randy Savage. For me, I'm going to put this one under decent. I do think that this is the first good WrestleMania, and I think there were a couple of good matches on this show as well. I mean, Roddy Piper, Adrian Adonis is another one that is on this show as well. WrestleMania 9. Well, what can we say about this? Maybe the less the better. Many countouts and DQ finishes on this show. It has to go into the worst. I'm not even saying the worst part about it. Of course, it is a show most famous for Hulk Hogan being in a tag team title match. We had Bret as the champion versus Yoko in the main event. Of course, Hogan was disqualified in the tag team title match. Yoko won the title from Bret Hart, who has been undefeated, protected as anything else. Hogan had to come out and beat Yoko in about a minute and a half. And of course, it was politics 101 for the time period. And I think fans were very sick of seeing Hogan with the title at that time, yours truly included. So yeah, for me, this has to go under the worst WrestleManias. It looks a great venue in Vegas, but unfortunately, that's where it ends. The best part of that show is Bobby Heenan coming out at the very beginning. But we'll move on to WrestleMania 7. Again, this one mainly famous for Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. But for me, the highlights of this show actually are Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage, Macho Man in the retirement match. Of course, Savage losing, gets reunited with Miss Elizabeth, which is a really fun moment, a classic WrestleMania moment. And of course, this is also the show where the Undertaker's undefeated streak begins, of course, beating Superfly Jimmy Snuka. For me, I'm going to put this in the average category. I think it's an average WrestleMania. I don't know if it's necessarily a better WrestleMania than some of the ones we've mentioned already. To try and keep this in the ranking format, by the way, I will try, when we get to having more than one WrestleMania, you can see already I've got WrestleMania 3 better than WrestleMania 8, so we'll actually get a full-on ranking by the end of this video. WrestleMania 18, of course, Rock and Hogan, of course, that was infamous, wasn't it, with the stare down, of course, at the time, and fans just going mad for Hogan in general. Is one of my favourite WrestleMania moments. There were some good matches on WrestleMania X8. Obviously, you've got the likes of Undertaker versus Ric Flair. You've got Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Scott Hall. And you do have the main event of Triple H and Chris Jericho, which should have been better than what it was. I think this is a good WrestleMania. I'm not sure it comes under great WrestleMania. I'm going to put it in decent, but for me, I'm going to put it actually at the very start of this. If I can get that to do that, I'm going to move WrestleMania 3 that way. Then we can see now it's at the top of decent. I'd be surprised if many top it in the decent category. WrestleMania 22, which is another decent WrestleMania, I've got to say. It's a fun show. Obviously, Rey Mysterio winning the championship, of course, sort of a bit of an Eddie Guerrero tribute as well when doing so, beating Kurt Angle and Randy Orton. And we have John Cena beating Triple H in the main event. Of course, CM Punk was part of the entrance of that one, people will famously remember as well. And it's the second Money in the Bank ladder match, which was won by Rob Van Dam. For me, this goes into the decent category, and for me, I'm going to put it right about there. I think that's the perfect spot for it. WrestleMania 24. I'm not going to waste any time. This one is going straight into very good. For me, I think it's a cracking show. WrestleMania 24 obviously is main evented with The Undertaker and Edge, which is a top main event. We also have Floyd Mayweather against The Big Show on this one. Ric Flair, of course, his retirement with Shawn Michaels. We also have John Cena versus Randy Orton versus Triple H for the championship also. So some great stuff on WrestleMania 24. I think it's hard to find a bad match on this show, actually, and I think it's deserving of the very good spot. WrestleMania 31 is going to be the first WrestleMania to go in the greatest category. I'm going to do 5 in total that can go in the great. The top 5 will go in the greatest for me. WrestleMania 31 had such a bad build. People were not into the idea of it, but yet on the night, everything, or in the day, because this was actually a lot of it in daylight, this show delivered, and it delivered big time. Triple H and Sting was a fun time. And we had Undertaker Bray Wyatt, which was really, really good. Obviously, we had the best RKO ever with Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. We had a great ladder match to kick off the show, and Brock versus Roman, better than what it had any right to be, but even better the fact that the fans didn't want either guy to win. So Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank, the highest of the century, at making this one a top tier WrestleMania in my personal opinion. Although I'm going to have it overtaken immediately with WrestleMania 30. For me, WrestleMania 30, what could have been, this had a different card looking like it was going to have going into it, but obviously plans change when certain superstars leave the company and fans basically take over with their passion as well. Daniel Bryan, of course, the big story here with the Miracle on Bourbon Street. Daniel Bryan beating Triple H in the opener and then beating Batista and Randy Orton in the main event. Fantastic Daniel Bryan performances on this show. I also have John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, which is fantastic. Look, we also have the end of the streak, Undertaker losing to Brock Lesnar. Not a great match, but at the same time, the sentiment, it stands the test of time. It is a huge WrestleMania. WrestleMania 30 certainly is one of the top tier ones. WrestleMania 1 for me is going to go in the average category. For me, WrestleMania 1 is where everything began. It's the idea of, pro wrestling, your big stars, larger than life, but also the use of celebrity. Obviously, I had Muhammad Ali as a special guest referee in the main event of Hogan and Mr. T going against Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff. Cyndi Lauper as well was with Wendy Richter when she won the Women's Championship. So there's a lot of big things about this WrestleMania, showing what WrestleMania would be going forward as well, the vision of wrestling, of sports entertainment. So for me, this one is actually a fun show to watch, even though I didn't watch it when it actually happened. It's still good to go back and watch it now. The wrestling on the show isn't necessarily great, if I'm being honest, but for me, I am going to put it above WrestleMania 7 just because of the fact that hey, it's the first one. They didn't know what they was doing, and to be fair, it seemed that they struck gold. WrestleMania 38. This is a fun show. Obviously, the return of Cody Rhodes and a fantastic match with Seth Rollins. My favorite match of that entire weekend was Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch as well. But this is a bit of a mixed bag WrestleMania for me as well. When I look at it with the with Rick Boogs' injury in the first match against the Usos, when he was teamed with Shinsuke Nakamura, the main event is really flat for me with Roman and Brock on night 2. But we do get Steve Austin against Kevin Owens on night 1, and so there is a lot of fun things on this one. I will put this WrestleMania on decent. I'm going to put it ahead of WrestleMania 3, just behind WrestleMania 22. I think is where I'm going to put that there. WrestleMania 20, Madison Square Garden, feels extremely important. The last 3 matches on the show as well, really, for me, are the talking points, really. Obviously, Benoit, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels, heck of a main event between those 3, the triple threat match. The return of The Undertaker, of course, confronting Kane, of course, and beating him as well in quite quick fashion. Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle stealing one of the show stealers as well of this show. John Cena had a good match with the Big Show, and obviously Rock and Sock Connection losing to Evolution. So a lot of big time feels on this WrestleMania. Is it a great WrestleMania? Is it a very good WrestleMania? I think it's going to go under decent. But you know what? I said it'd be hard to beat WrestleMania X8 in that decent category, but this one I think does top it for me. WrestleMania 10 for me, look, could be nostalgia kicking in. I'm not sure, but I'm going to put it into the very good category. We've got some classics on this one. I just love the story throughout the night as well. The ladder match with Razor and Shawn is fantastic. Bret Hart versus Owen Hart is the perfect way to kick off any WrestleMania, in my personal opinion. Probably the best opener of all time. We've got obviously the story where Bret wrestles twice because he's going to wrestle in the main event. He loses in the opener to Owen, but of course Lex Luger and Yokozuna have a championship match in the middle of the show. Yoko wins, the leaders to get Bret versus Yoko one more time, and Bret walks away as the champion. It's a very good WrestleMania. Highly recommend it to anyone that wants to go and see it. WrestleMania 5 for me, next one, the Mega Powers explode. Obviously Hogan and Savage, fantastic storyline going in, and a decent match as well. Rick Rude and Ultimate Warrior for the IC title is decent as well, but apart from that, not a lot else. I'm wondering whether that should go in the decent or the average category because of that. I think I'm going to just about put it in the average, but I'm going to put it in the top spot of the average. WrestleMania 14, where the Austin era begins. Of course, Mike Tyson is the enforcer when Austin beats Shawn Michaels. Really good stuff, this one. I really enjoyed that main event. And like I say, it's a time thing for me. 98, just the change of the business, the change of the Attitude Era, and really where the momentum kicks in for WWE going forward. We have The Rock as well against Ken Shamrock on this show, which I think is very good. Hunter Hearst Helmsley or Triple H defeating Owen Hart with the European Championship. And also, I remember the fun dumpster match we had with the New Age Outlaws, along with Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie. So for me, this one is going in the very good category, and I think I may just put it behind WrestleMania 10. It was tempting to put it in front of it, but maybe just behind there. The Russo Mania, WrestleMania 15, unfortunately doesn't have the same memories for me. Austin versus The Rock is decent, but I think that's where I'm going to leave that there. We've got obviously Mankind and the Big Show trying to get the special guest referee spot, and that's a DQ finish to get Mankind there. And the Boss Man gets hanged by The Undertaker after Hell in a Cell match, which is not cool. And Triple H and Kane finishes in a disqualification. So yeah, a bit of wonky booking for me in this one. Could I say it's a bad WrestleMania? Is it bad, or is it, I don't know. The thing is, it's kind of watchable. So in a way, I'm tempted to put average, but there is some bad stuff on this show. I think Austin and The Rock saves it, so I think it's going to go into the average category. I think it will go above WrestleMania 5 for me, purely for the time period in itself. We move on to WrestleMania 26. Obviously, this is career versus streak. We have Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels in the main event, arguably the best WrestleMania main event of all time, in my personal opinion. I don't think the match is better than 25. That's a controversial take, I know, but still, brilliant main event. But the rest of the show, I mean, there is some good stuff on it. Chris Jericho and Edge is decent. John Cena versus Batista is also decent, but a lot of the matches are very quick on this show. So I think, yeah, I'm going to stick it in decent, I think, for WrestleMania 26. I think it's going to go just behind WrestleMania 22, or no, it's going to go in front of WrestleMania 22. Taker and Shawn has just bumped it that little bit further up for me. WrestleMania 6, obviously Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan. It's a childhood thing for me. I was a big fan of the Ultimate Warrior, was not a big fan of Hogan, and some things don't change. And I really wanted Warrior to win as the IC champion. I was used to seeing Hogan win everything, and the Warrior did it, so I was extremely happy from that. But this show, so many matches, and yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag really outside of this, to being honest. But Andre the Giant turning on the Colossal Collection and Bobby Heenan's a fun moment as well. For me, it's going to go in the average category for that reason, but it's going to go at the top of the average category. I'm going to move 15 just there so we can put it in its top spot, if it will let me. There we go. We've got it in the right spot eventually. WrestleMania 12, obviously the Iron Man match, Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. That's some they say it's one of the best main events ever. For me, I think it's a bit overrated. When you watch it back, it's just two guys wrestling for an hour, a lot of rest holds for at least the first half of it, and there's no falls for 60 minutes. We need overtime to get the one fall. The rest of the show is okay. We have Undertaker versus Diesel on this show. We have the Hollywood Backlot Brawl with Roddy Piper and Goldust. But all in all, I think it's an average one for me. I'm going to put it actually around here. I think is probably the right placement for it. WrestleMania 23. Now, this one we have John Cena versus Shawn Michaels. Incredible main event between those two. Batista versus Undertaker is an awesome match as well. Money in the Bank is one of the most brutal ones I've seen. And of course, we have Battle of the Billionaires, which worked for its time period. Probably doesn't work now. But for me, this WrestleMania is a top WrestleMania. But I'm going to put in a very good category. It's going to go into the start. I seem to always have trouble with these bits here, but I'm going to put it just ahead of WrestleMania 24. So at the moment, it's a top 3 Mania for me. WrestleMania 37 is the next one here, and to be fair, this is the first time Mania we had with fans back after the pandemic, so that was awesome in itself. Some really good matches amongst WrestleMania 37. Bianca versus Sasha, obviously, with the night 1 main event. Night 2 main event, Roman Reigns, Edge, and Daniel Bryan, which is brilliant as well. We have McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, which is good on the WrestleMania night 1 as well. In fact, night 1 is fantastic when you look back at it. Obviously, Bad Bunny having the tag team match with Damian Priest against Miz and Morrison. I've got to put this one straight into the very good category. It would be wrong not to do so, and I think I'm actually going to go with just after WrestleMania 28. I think that's the perfect spot for Mania 37. WrestleMania X7. What can I say that's not been said by everybody? It's probably done one of these lists in the past. It is simply one of, if not the greatest WrestleMania of all time. Still got something to go through, so maybe I might have one that might top it. But look, it's a perfect show from start to finish. Everything feels on the right point, the right timing. Everything is great about it. Austin and Rock, obviously, after the time period of when WCW's been bought out, ECW's done as well. It just felt like the job had been done of the Attitude Era. WWE had won the war, and this was the WrestleMania, the celebration of it. And it just felt like, everything just clicked. It worked well. Like I say, Austin turning heel in the main event was shocking at the time as well. Probably not the right move in hindsight, but still, for its period and for watching it was amazing as well, doing it in Texas. So Austin and Rock, biggest main event you could do. You've got Undertaker versus Triple H, which is awesome. TLC 2, which is a big popular one amongst many. Obviously, Jericho winning the IC title in the opener. McMahon versus McMahon street fight. The gimmick battle royal. I could go on for a very long time at this point. But we'll move on to WrestleMania 32. And for me, I'm not going to waste any time putting it in the bad category. Look, so many people were injured going into this show. Lots of plans had to be changed, but Triple H versus Roman as the main event was boring. It was a boring main event. I'm not going to lie to you. I can't even remember a lot of this WrestleMania. We have Undertaker versus Shane McMahon, of course, for which was like streak, or not even the streak. It was Undertaker's career versus Shane getting control of the company, and yeah. Shane taking the tumble off the cell was fun, but it wasn't the same as when Mankind did it back in '98 for me. For me, it's a bad WrestleMania. Less said about it, probably the better. WrestleMania 19, though, is going up there. Is it going to be number 1 or number 2? It's going in the number 2 spot for me. This is almost as close to perfection of a WrestleMania you can get as well. I mean, obviously you've got Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle in the main event. Fantastic. Even though Brock almost breaks his neck, this is a fantastic main event. Austin's last match against The Rock is on this show. Hogan and Mr. McMahon was better than any Divine Right it had to be. Jericho and Shawn Michaels stole the show on this one as well. The only minor ones with this one for me, obviously Booker T losing to Triple H, that just storyline was a bit tasteless as well around the time period. And of course, if you look at it, Undertaker match against A-Train and Big Show. Obviously, Nathan Jones was supposed to be his tag team partner. Yeah, when you look at the streak, obviously that's the other letdown of this one as well. If those couple of things had just been changed, I think this one could have taken the top spot. Some really good stuff on this. WrestleMania 13, it's a bad WrestleMania. It's a really bad WrestleMania, but it does have one of the best matches of all time. It has one of the best WrestleMania matches of all time. It just shows how bad of a WrestleMania is. It's still in the bad category, but Bret Hart versus Steve Austin, submission match, the double turn, done, execute to perfection as well. Incredible stuff. It's a bad WrestleMania, but that match is superb. But yeah, the rest of the show, I mean, Sid shits himself in the main event against The Undertaker, and that's pretty much the most highlighted point of the match. We have Rocky Maivia versus the Sultan. It's a poor Mania. It really is a bad Mania. It's lucky not to be in the worst category, to be fair. WrestleMania 2 is one of the worst WrestleManias ever. It is going to go behind WrestleMania 9 because I think it's worse. So basically, WrestleMania 1 was all the spectacle of the entertainment factor. WrestleMania 2 was the different locations. And we had 3 different match cards in 3 different cities, and everyone just looked confused. And the matches weren't good either. So all the spectacle of everything from the year before Madison Square Garden, this year just didn't click and didn't work. We did have the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which had some NFL stars in it. Hogan versus King Kong King Bundy in a steel cage match, and Roddy Piper versus Mr. T was one of the main events in a boxing match. Yeah, I've said I think everything I need to with this one. WrestleMania 34 for me has some really good moments on it. I really like Ronda Rousey's debut match with Kurt Angle against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. The opener is hot with Balor, Rollins, and Miz, and I think that Charlotte and Asuka is a great match as well. But the rest of the show, I think it goes into the average category for me. I think that there's some bad stuff on this as well. The main event is one of the worst main events in WrestleMania history, and I would say that obviously the match before that as well, Nicholas winning the tag team titles, wasn't great either, but it is going to lead the average WrestleManias for me. WrestleMania 29 is a bad WrestleMania. It's a one-match show once again. CM Punk versus The Undertaker is the one good thing on this show. Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I'm tempted to put this further down the pecking order. You've got Fandango debuting against Chris Jericho and winning. You've got Alberto Del Rio and Jack Swagger for the world title. And we've got Twice in a Lifetime, which just wasn't as good as the first time. So yeah, for me, this one goes in the bad category. WrestleMania 36, maybe controversial to some. I think this is a decent WrestleMania, and I was thankful for this WrestleMania. We had a global pandemic. We couldn't leave the house. I was grateful to have entertainment, to have a show, despite there was no fans. Thought the wrestling was decent across the two nights that we got. It's the first two-night WrestleMania, which for me was a breath of fresh air at the time. I was getting bored of the 8-hour WrestleManias because I just thought they were getting too long, and I was thinking that we're going to get longer and longer. So this changed the game forever for me. So for me, I'm going to be honest and say that this is actually going to go actually a bit better for me. I'm going to put it in the decent category. Obviously there's some decent matches on this WrestleMania as well. We'll see Drew McIntyre getting his moment, beating Brock Lesnar in just a few minutes. We also have the cinematic matches there with the Boneyard match there with The Undertaker and AJ Styles. Of course, that'll be Undertaker's last match ever. And of course, the Firefly Funhouse match, really creative one there with Bray Wyatt and John Cena. So let's not waste any time. So let's get it into the categories then. It's going to go in decent for me. I'm actually going to put it around here. I think for me, around just after WrestleMania 22. Yeah, I think so. I'm quite happy with that selection there. Like I say, I could be on a hill of my own, but yeah, that's how I feel. I tell you what, though, might not be a controversial opinion. This one, the worst WrestleMania ever. It is WrestleMania 11 for me. I think it is the worst of all WrestleManias. Obviously, look, Diesel versus Shawn Michaels, not bad for the championship. Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow is a decent match for what it is, but an NFL style for me in the main event of WrestleMania just didn't click at all at the time. And I still feel like there was no real build to it, and he was not a big name outside the US, in my opinion. In childhood, I was not aware of who he was, so I thought this was a bigger deal for the American market than it was for an international market. The rest of the show, though, goodness, Undertaker versus King Kong Bundy past his prime. We've seen obviously Allied Powers, Luger and British Bulldog as a tag team against Eli and Jacob Blue. Yep, who? I know, I feel the same. And also Bob Backlund versus Bret Hart in an I Quit match, which Bret Hart has claimed is the worst match of his entire career. And if Bret Hart says that, I'm going to take his word for it. I think it's the worst WrestleMania of all time. One that comes close as worst WrestleMania of all time is WrestleMania 27. For me, this one is not a good WrestleMania. Obviously, The Rock comes back in, is the host, but he overstays his welcome for me, getting too involved in the John Cena Miz main event. Outside of this, we've got Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler, which goes on for about half an hour. And of course, we do have Steve Austin as a special guest referee. But there are some bad matches in the undercard. It's obviously Edge's last match for 10 years as well against Del Rio. But all in all, this is not a great WrestleMania. I will put it in the worst category, but it is going to be at the bottom there of the fourth worst WrestleMania of all time. WrestleMania 35, of course, was the one where everyone went home happy. We got Becky Lynch winning the main event, the first ever women's main event to a Mania as well. Seth Rollins beating Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. And of course, Kofi Mania with Kofi winning the WWE Championship. Sprinkle in that as well. We've got Batista's final match against Triple H. And of course, Roman returning to action after having leukemia, taking on Drew McIntyre. For me, this has to go under. I think it's a very good WrestleMania. I'm actually going to put it in the very good category. I think that this one deserves to be there. I'm going to put it, I still think it's a very long WrestleMania, so I'm going to put it at the end of very good there, just because I think it's a bit too long. WrestleMania 4 for me is a bad WrestleMania. It has a great result at the end of it, with Randy Savage winning the championship. However, it's a 16-man tournament or something like that, playing out in one night with about another 4 or 5 matches outside of that on this show. It is far too long. It drags so much, and for me, that's why it's going here. And obviously, we have Hulk versus Andre in this tournament, but they both get disqualified in the first round, so 2 of the big names go out immediately as well. So for me, yeah, bit of a letdown this WrestleMania. It's lucky to not go in the worst category, if we're being brutally honest. WrestleMania 33 was okay. Okay at best. Obviously, the really bad main event with Roman Reigns and Undertaker taken past it at this point. We had the Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton match with all the bugs and the projector in the ring, which wasn't great either. AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon, probably the best match on the show. Kevin Owens Jericho isn't bad either. And to be honest, I would say Goldberg and Lesnar is fairly decent on this show as well. But is it going to go in average or is it going to go in bad? I think for me, average is just about. Do you know what? I'm going to put it in the bad category. I think here is probably the right spot. Do you know what? I'm actually going to bump it up to average. Do you know what I'm going to bump up to average? The Hardy Boys return on this show and the ladder match, and that's probably a real highlight for me. So yeah, it's going to get itself onto this box. That's a fun WrestleMania moment. WrestleMania 2000, a man in every corner for Mick Foley, for Big Show, for Triple H and The Rock. We had the triangle ladder match as well with the Edge and Christian, the Hardys and the Dudleys. We also had the triple threat match for the Intercontinental and European Championships. Kurt Angle walking in with 2 belts, leaving with none. Jericho winning 1 and Benoit winning the other. But the rest of it, a lot of tag team matches and a lot of filler. So for this one, it's going to go in the average category, but it's going to go at the top of the average category. There it is. WrestleMania 21. WrestleMania goes Hollywood here. For me, it was when all the new stars were solidified in WWE at this time. John Cena defeating JBL for the championship. We had, of course, Batista beating Triple H for the championship as well in the main event. Edge winning the first ever Money in the Bank, solidifying him to be a future top star as well. Solidified as well with that amazing Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels match. It deserves to be in the greatest. In fact, I'm going to put it in 3rd spot. That's how highly I rate it. WrestleMania 25 for me. Look, it says everything it needs to know about this one. It's the 25th anniversary. It's not. It's the 24th anniversary. So if you got the tagline wrong, everything else is probably going to go fairly wrong as well. The only thing that went really right on this show was Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. Some call it the greatest match of all time. But Triple H, Randy Orton should have had a no DQ stipulation, would have added to that after the great build they had to WrestleMania. But the rest of the card, Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy was okay. Jericho, against the Legends was okay. Got punched out by Mickey Rourke at the end. The Money in the Bank ladder match was decent though. So yeah, all in all, I think this one falls under the average category for a WrestleMania for me. So yeah, I'm going to put this, I think, around here. I'd say just after WrestleMania 12, I think is the right spot for WrestleMania 25. And last but not least is WrestleMania 39, the show we had last year. Of course, Cody did not finish the story on this show, which, let's be fair, was a mistake. If it was just night 1, I think it would be up there on the top of the greatest. But night 2 wasn't as strong of a WrestleMania. The night 2 was highlighted well with Gunther, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus, which was fantastic. The main event was good, but like I said, the wrong result. Brock Lesnar and Omos. Well, it was better than what it's supposed to be, but yeah, all in all for me, night 2 was not as good as night 1. Night 1, though, had some fantastic matches. Sami Zayn KO against the Usos, Rhea versus Charlotte Flair. We had Seth versus Logan Paul as well, so some fantastic stuff for night 1. Ray versus Dom as well. A really good WrestleMania. For me, this is going to go into the very good category. In fact, I'm going to place it just here. So yeah, I think it's in the top 10 of WrestleManias of all time. So that's my list there for you. What do you reckon of the ranking there? We'll quickly go through it just to see the best of all time. WrestleMania X7 is in the top spot there. I think it's the best one ever. WrestleMania 19 closely follows, and WrestleMania 21 in 3rd. WrestleMania 30 and WrestleMania 31 are in 4th and 5th. And, well, the 5 worst WrestleManias of all time, if you look at it the way I ranked it. WrestleMania 4, like I said, it's just too long. WrestleMania 27 is the real bad one in the modern era. At WrestleMania 9, Hogan could be a politician on that one. WrestleMania 2, all the locations, and WrestleMania 11, it just all went wrong. And there's a lot of WrestleManias you can see in the middle. But now it's your turn to let me know, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments below right now. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share with a friend, and subscribe as well. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. And yeah, plenty more content coming out on the way on the road to WrestleMania. Thank you for watching. Look after yourselves. Check out these videos on the side of the screen right now, and I'll see you the next video.